Hello my lovelies. If you are watching this video, you probably clicked on it because you too have strong ME and you too have felt the plague of any overload. So welcome, have a seat, grab your coffee, grab your tea. I'm gonna sip on mine. And let's go ahead and get into this. Let's first start off by doing a little introduction, like what am I talking about? So if you're into myers-briggs personality type, then you know that there are functional stacks and everyone has different cognitive functions, and some of us have what's called extroverted intuition. And not only do we have extroverted intuition, but it's one of our top two functions, as in one of the two most favorited functions by our minds that we use to navigate the world around us. We all have a judgment function and a perception function, and for us, our leading perception function is extroverted intuition. If you're watching this still, you either want to know a little bit more about extroverted intuition, or you're here because you've experienced this. Last night, I went down a rabbit hole of information. I was just like, clicking on videos. I wasn't even finishing these videos, mind you. I was just going from video to video to video to video to video and collecting all this information. It was about personality, but it wasn't about this in particular. It was just a bunch of videos. And I was taking in all this information, and probably I started around 7 and I stopped around 10. So that's 3 hours of clicking from video to video to video, not finishing half of them, and just soaking in all that information, trying to make sense of it all right then in the moment. And I experienced a little overload. And what for me happens when I have the overload is a headache that starts on the outside of my head and works its way inward, and it just feels like a pressure, like I have too much stuff going on and I can't process it all right now. Like normally when I go to bed, I'll watch something that I don't really need to think about, just to have like kind of a background noise. I couldn't even do that last night. Like I had to just sit there and think about everything that I took in because it was just too darn much. And that this could be having lead NE makes me more prone to this, but I do think that like INFPs and INTPs can also experience this overload feeling, where it's just so much information and you're just in a mode of give me more, 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 give me more. Yeah, actually, that many give me mores. And you don't really have time to fully process it because you're just so excited by learning all this new information that you take a bunch of it in and don't actually organize it. Because for those of you who don't know, NE is supplemented and supported by introverted sensing. And what introverted sensing does is take everything that all these ideas you've collected, all these things you've seen, and it organizes them into a really neat, tightly packed package that you can later pull up. And you can be like, hey, remember this thing that I learned over here? Yeah, here it is. Am I saying it always works perfectly? No, especially if you have lead NE, it can be really hard to pull from your SI because you love it, but you don't favor it. It's your little infant function. It's there, it's good, but it's not your strongest. Anyway, I digress. The NE overload. So how do I get past it? By stopping and thinking. I don't think there's any other solution to any overload but noticing that it's happening and taking a step back. And I've noticed that for me, any overload can happen really quickly if I'm with another NE Dom. So for instance, an ENFP and an ENTP. I used to work with this one guy, and we would talk about all these ideas, and the first like 2 hours of work, we'd just be like, talk, all these ideas. I would literally have to step away and be like, I can't talk to you right now. I need to think about all this. And then I would go super introverted. And I think a lot of people could perceive me as an introvert because I need to process the ideas. And I think ENFPs maybe not more so, but ENFPs especially can come off as INFPs, because when we get into that, like, I need to process this information mode, we can really look shut down to the outside world. We can really just be like focused on what we're doing and thinking. So what helps me process information is doing something really repetitive that doesn't take a lot of thought. For example, cutting vegetables. For example, crocheting. For example, doodling a Zen doodle. If you've never heard of Zen doodle, look it up. It's a lot of fun. It's relaxing. There's a lot of room for creativity, but also it helps you free your mind while you're doing it. It's nice. Anyway, that's how I personally deal with it. I shut down the external influences and I just sit there and sift through all these ideas, think about them a lot, really contemplate them, and then put them into my organizational system. And once I've put them into the organizational system, they're pretty much there until I have something to contradict it. But, I mean, when I'm in that mode of dealing with this information, the outside world is gone. And I have to imagine that's what it's like to be an INFP, is you're constantly in that, like, thinking about the information that you're gathering and organizing it. And an INTP as well. You get all this information, you think about it, and it probably takes more energy for you to consume. I don't know. Interesting. Put down below, if you're an INFP, how much time do you spend gathering ideas? And what's your process like for sifting through? Other ENFPs, what's your process through sifting through that idea overload, that any overwhelm situation? And ENTPs, of course, you as well. How do you process when you've had way too much information because you couldn't stop? Because you were just like, oh my God, so many cool things to think about. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fat kid at a buffet. I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. If you like this video, like it, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!